A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to join a neighbor and his friends on one final trip to the Anza Borrego desert before the summer heat would turn that place into an oven. Well, we picked the wrong day, the wrong weekend, because the heat and also strong winds were already there.
Hello and welcome. Well, it's a great day here in Southern California, and I'm going through some video clips about Anza Borrego from a previous trip that I just took a few weeks ago. And unlike today, it was a sunny day. It was super hot. Down in the canyons of Anza Borrego, it was partially 110 degrees, so quite brutal from that perspective. But yeah, come along in this video. I'll show you around in Anza Borrego, one of my favorite places. It's about 90 minutes from where I live, so it's pretty much my backyard, and there's a ton of stuff to see. While I did not record a whole lot in this video, I will still give you quite a few impressions of what Anza Borrego really looks like when you get away from the main streets, when you go into the backcountry of Anza Borrego, which I think is over 600,000 acres of desert and really different landscapes. So come along and enjoy.
We met up in Julian, a very small, quaint town about 60 miles inland from the coast. The first stop in Julian was at a small roadside brewery called Nickel Beer Company, where we waited for everyone to arrive while enjoying some ice-cold adult beverages. Well, what else do you want to do when it's a hot day, right? Well, once the group was complete, we drove just a few miles to Banner Ranch, where we aired down. It's a roadside parking lot where you can air down, and then you have easy access to the Oriflamme Canyon Loop trail, which is the trail that we went and took up the mountain. The trail is rated 5 on Onyx. It's a moderate trail, and I had no problems with my Baja following the group. We worked our way up the Oriflamme Canyon Loop trail when we hit a small out-and-back offshoot for some bonus adventure. The offshoot was quite steep, and up on top was just very little space to really turn around, so I played it safe with my Rossmonster Baja and just stayed back on the main trail, while the smaller vehicles went for the bonus adventure, and watching them from the main trail, it was fun anyway. We carried on. Even though the trail was rated as moderate, I would mostly describe it probably as easy to moderate, maybe a 3 or 4, but not necessarily a 5. As we got higher in elevation, we could feel that the temperatures were still somewhat moderate compared to what we would have to expect later that day. I would probably guess that the temperatures were around 85 to 90 degrees here on this trail. We kept climbing up in elevation, and the vegetation around us slowly changed to the more, I want to say, typical Southern California mountainous vegetation, if there is such thing. I was the slowest in the group, following at the tail end, and that was fine with me. I enjoy the slow drives through Mother Nature, and I really like to take the time to enjoy the views, look around, and just simply take my time. Plus, when you're driving with a 12,000-pound type of vehicle, you gotta take it slow, otherwise you're risking damage to your vehicle, or
I put it in 4 low so I can use downhill descent mode.
Stuff is just flying around and making noise, and it would take the fun away. So for me, this was perfectly fine. Now it was time to work our way down the mountain. We were still on BLM land, but soon we would drop into the Anza Borrego Desert State Park. Driving down this shelf road with the drop-off on the right, it was fun, and I had a really good time. Since I had not been to this trail, everything was new, and I knew up to this day that I still have barely touched the surface of what Anza Borrego has to offer in regards to its trails and other items you can explore. As you can see here, we were now in the desert with some of the typical slot canyons that you find quite often in the Anza Borrego desert. It's also interesting that sometimes you see almost dead trees and then lush green trees very close to each other. I wonder if there's some underground water source or if it's just simply a better water runoff after a rainstorm moved through. Anyway, the temperatures were rising quickly and I was glad to have air conditioning in my Rossmonster Baja. Next we made it to the Diablo drop-off. That's a steep, very popular, but I don't want to say difficult obstacle in the Anza Borrego desert. However, in this case, it seems like it was even graded just recently for trail maintenance, and that removed some of the challenges that you would expect from this type of obstacle. Anyway, before we were heading down to continue on with our journey, my friend Aaron took me down and back up again in his Jeep Gladiator to show me some of the challenges that this obstacle has to offer. Plus, I haven't really been down these type of steep obstacles with my Baja, so definitely a good learning experience for me. If I remember correctly, there were a total of 4 lanes that one could go up and down the Diablo drop-off. And I put the word lanes in quotes. You can see here on the pictures exactly what I'm referring to. Aaron took me up one of the 2 lanes that were not graded and still offered really an interesting challenge for one if you decided to look for one. So then one by one, everyone took turns to go down and then back up again, while the rest of the crew enjoyed watching the action. I decided to hold off from that. Not that I was scared, but I'd rather be cautious with the 12,000-pound vehicle that I'm driving. And I think I will come back one day and try it out for sure. But I also didn't know really where we would be going next. And do I have to make it back up or do we continue down there? We probably spent about 45 minutes at the Diablo drop-off and then we started moving on. One by one we went down the drop-off and then followed the existing trail to an yet to me unknown location for camp. I had no idea where the guys were taking me and that was part of the fun I had that day. It was super windy and the temperatures were hovering around 100 degrees. In some areas of the canyons, they even peaked at 110 degrees. So it felt like somebody was holding a hairdryer in your face the entire day. The trail was very narrow and in some places I had to fold my mirrors in just to be safe and really be on top of my game to make sure that the Baja would make it through some of those really tight sections without any scratches. Even though I had Gaia GPS and Onyx Off-Road open, it was challenging for me to see where we were actually going. I had never been in this area of Anza Borrego and actually I found it quite fascinating to travel this way. Here was another one of those really tighter sections where I had to focus and pay attention to avoid any damage to my rig. Shortly after, the trail opened up by quite a lot actually, and it turned into a much easier drive, as you can see here. This was perfect. It can be really quite tiring if you always have to be alert and pay attention to every single little detail that a trail is throwing at you. So here we were able to speed up a little bit and we really made some good progress on our way to wherever we were going. The sunlight was changing as well as the afternoon went by. And yeah, with the sun being slightly lower, it really changed how the desert looked like.
Look at that 6 spot. Yeah, you see how the tent's doing?
We came by this really nice campsite in one of the canyons and the person camping there had really scored well. Out of the sun, out of the wind, just like a little island in the sea. Perfect. But this section of the trail was also quite busy, and so we decided this was not what we were after, and so we kept pressing on. I find it amazing how many different types of landscape Anza Borrego has to offer, and I'm also sure there's still a lot that I haven't not seen yet. The wind was still out of control and it put a dent in our plans to camp at a certain location. We made the difficult decision to keep going and find camp in one of the slot canyons, but it would add quite some extra time driving this evening. The extra miles, however, that would bring us towards the Borrego Springs Salton Sea connection would in return make it easier for the next morning to depart towards home and not have to drive around so many extra miles the following morning. Even though the winds were not cooperating today, the sky on the other side made up for it. As we were driving through the desert, Mother Nature did not cheap out on us and had a fantastic sunset prepared for us. With the beautiful sunset in progress, I also had the opportunity to put my off-road lights to use. I do not have a specific scene on camera, but man, when I turned on all my forward-facing off-road lights, my travel buddies who were in front of me, they were almost begging for mercy. It was so bright. I would say for solo travel, using all my off-road lights is fine, but when traveling in a group, yeah, I will use just the two Baja Design LP4 ditch lights, and those will be plenty. The next morning we spent about 2 hours at camp really just shooting the breeze, talking the day away, enjoy a warm or cold morning beverage of choice. I mean, after all, it was already 90 degrees very early in the day. Some parts of the group then decided to go to Fon's Point, which wasn't that far away, while Aaron and I would be heading home and call it a day. The drive back from camp to the road was really cool to see in daylight. I mean, some sections last night had felt sketchy, but now driving through it during the day, it's just so different with the different lights. So if you've been off-roading during night, you know how this works. Different lights, different perspectives.
So that was my 24-hour trip to Anza Borrego. It was a fun trip. I didn't film as much as I usually do. I didn't want to hold back the group and stop here and there all the time. So I hope you liked this format of video. Let me know in the comments what you think about 24 hours in the Anza Borrego desert. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please do so as well. And then I would say I'll see you next time in my next video. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.